Hey everybody, Neil DeFranco here of the Larry DeFranco team at Alfont Wissahickon Realtors out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Coming here today doing things a little bit differently. I know it's been a while since I've done a video, and I rarely do unscripted videos. Actually, I may not have done any unscripted videos in the past, so definitely trying something new today. And then on top of it, as you can tell, I'm cooking dinner, which has absolutely nothing to do with real estate. But if you've ever seen any of my videos in the past, you know that I typically look a little awkward, or I think I look awkward, because I never know what to do with my hands. So this is going to force me to be a little bit looser, because as I said, I'm cooking. And I'm just going to ramble a little bit here about the meal and also about real estate in the Philadelphia area, the greater Philadelphia area, as we wrap up the summer here in 2025. Now, a lot of you may or may not pay attention to the national news. And if you pay attention to the national news, then the real estate picture you get from the national news is, I'm not going to say it's irrelevant, because national news matters and the national economy matters a lot, but real estate is local. And that's not just a cliche. Real estate is local. Sometimes it's hyper local. Sometimes it can come down to just the little tiny municipality level. Sometimes it's more of a regional thing. And a lot of national news talks about how the real estate market might be slowing down. It might talk about how the market is shifting from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And that's not inaccurate. It's a national average. And because real estate is local, we have to look at that type of information on the local level. So here in the greater Philadelphia area, we're not only in the Northeast, which is still a pretty large region of the country, but just the Northeast as a whole, we're still in a seller's market. Has it moved a little bit less extreme, maybe favoring buyers a little bit more? Sure. And I shouldn't even say favoring buyers, because it's still a seller's market, but it's become a little bit easier for buyers as we get a little bit more inventory, as some buyers step out of the market, maybe some houses take a little bit longer to sell. But because real estate is cyclical, with every market, you get newcomers. You get new buyers that step in to replace the buyers that may have taken a step out of frustration, or for whatever that reason might be. Now, real estate in our area is still experiencing a seller's market. The reason for that is nothing new. There is not enough inventory to satisfy the demand that buyers bring to the market. And so while you can look at your neighborhood, and maybe occasionally you'll see a sign that's been up for a really long time, and you're like, oh, I wonder what's wrong with that house. Why is it taking so long to sell? The market must be slowing down, because I heard nationally that the market's slowing down. That's not the case here in the Northeast, here in the greater Philadelphia area. If you see a house that's taking longer to sell, it's one of two things. Well, it might be more than two things, but at the end of the day, it's overpriced. Overpriced for what buyers are willing to pay in that particular area, or for that particular house. And then the other situation, every house that sits is not necessarily overpriced. It could just be a special house, which means that the seller is waiting for a special buyer who appreciates everything that house has to offer. So maybe it's really high-end finishes. Maybe it's this massive garage that only a buyer that wants a massive garage is interested in. But sometimes you're waiting for that special buyer, and that might lead a house to taking a little bit longer to sell. But on average, if you go through a neighborhood and it's the generic house for that neighborhood, sure, it'll have its individual qualities and character items. But if it fits the neighborhood and it doesn't sell, and you're in the greater Philadelphia area, and where we know we don't have enough inventory, the house is probably overpriced. So, don't just go and listen to the national news media and think, oh, they're saying it's becoming a buyer's market. What is a buyer's market? So when we think about a buyer's market, we're thinking about the saturation rate We're thinking about inventory accumulation. You're thinking of months of inventory. These are all the same things. Basically, what it is a way for us to look at the numbers and figure out where the strength of the market is. So let's say there's less than 5 months worth of inventory in a particular market. That's a seller's market. Typically, if there's between 5 and 6 months of worth of inventory, that's a normal market. And then when you exceed 6 months worth of inventory, that becomes a buyer's market. So that's how you figure out what type of market you're in based on those numbers. Now, the interesting thing, a lot of our local markets, not only are they still sellers markets, less than 5 months worth of inventory, you'd be hard pressed to find a local market here that's not a strong seller's market. I'm talking less than 2 months, maybe even less than 1 month worth of inventory. So we are experiencing a seller's market. Now, there are sections of the city, there are sections of the counties where you'll have different levels of demand. You'll have different amounts of inventory. So, I'm not trying to make a blanket statement that just fits everything. Because remember, real estate's local. And so as we do our jobs and we evaluate what type of market it is or how a house should be valued or priced in that particular market, we're taking all of these things into consideration when we make recommendations to sellers or when we make recommendations to our buyers as to how they should approach an offer on a house that they're interested in, based on what type of market they're in, what kind of competition is there, how should they structure their offer so that they achieve their goals. And that's, if they're sellers, they're trying to sell their house. And if they're buyers, they're trying to buy a house. So one of the things that might be curious to both buyers and sellers is what we can expect interest rates to do. And that's one of the big topics that you can look at nationally. And you hear a lot of talk as to, what are interest rates going to do this year, next year, and how's that going to impact the sale of my house or my purchase? I mean, interest rates are a big deal because the vast majority of buyers are using financing to purchase a house. So that interest rate impacts what their monthly payment's going to be, and in turn, it impacts how much home that they can afford. And so as interest rates go down, we can expect more buyers to enter the market, and the buying power goes up. Sometimes that can cause prices to go up, asking prices to go up if it impacts the amount of inventory that's there. Everything's sort of connected, but it also takes time for these connections to work out. At the end of the day, if somebody's telling you that interest rates are going to drop significantly, I would say, don't count on it necessarily. Now, I'm not an economist, but we've been seeing some pretty steady, stable interest rates for all of 2025, definitely the last couple months where we've been seeing rates in a very narrow window. So there are some organizations that are predicting that interest rates might drop to 6% by the end of the year. Some of them are saying, 6.4, 6.5. We'll see how that plays out. But it's not, I don't think it's going to change to the point where it changes the market dynamics in a way that causes too many new buyers to enter, or really has a huge impact on prices. That said, I could be wrong, and that's okay, because the nice thing is the market changes, it moves on, new listings come up, new buyers enter, and at the end of the day, what's driving real estate is the desire for people to have a place to live. And so, we're not going to satisfy the lack of inventory anytime soon because we're simply not building enough houses. And in a lot of areas, especially the greater Philadelphia area, there just aren't enough places to build houses. So, we're going to continue to see this demand. As we approach the end of the summer, we're approaching the beginning of the fall season. We typically look at the time just after Labor Day as the official start of our fall season. And with that, we typically will see new buyers, a new group of buyers who are just like, okay, we're starting our journey for the first time. You'll see groups of buyers that maybe took the summer off, stepping back in. It's a new start for a lot of people. And with that, we also see a lot of new listings. A lot of sellers are waiting for the summer to end before they list their home so that they can take advantage of that fall season. So this is, an exciting time coming up for us, and we'll see what it brings for our buyers and our sellers. Now, if you're curious, what does the Larry DeFranco team specialize in? Because a lot of times you hear that real estate is, agents specialize. And it's true, they do specialize. We do residential. Every once in a while, we'll end up with a commercial listing. It's usually a special situation. But we typically try to stick to residential sales. We represent both buyers and sellers. So how's that specializing if we represent both? Well, it's interesting for us. And by keeping it interesting for us, that's the variation of working with sellers and buyers. It's a different experience both ways. And so we really enjoy spending time on both sides. One, it keeps us sharp as sellers because we get to see the market from the buyer's perspective. And the same goes vice versa. The psychology of buyers and sellers, it's important to see both sides of that. What we end up specializing in is our clients. That's what it comes down to. Where do we work? I keep referring to the greater Philadelphia area. That's a pretty big area. I'm not going to lie. I like to work in my backyard. So that would be Southeast Montgomery County. We also do a lot of work in Northwest Philadelphia. So, Mount Airy, Chestnut Hill, Germantown, Roxborough, places like that. In Montgomery County, really love to work literally in my backyard in Springfield Township. We do work in Cheltenham, Upper Dublin, Glenside, the massive postal code that goes through 4 or 5 townships. White Marsh, Abington, Ambler, you name it. And we go far as well. If our clients need us in South Philly, we're in South Philly. We represented buyers just recently in Lancaster County, which seems like it's quite a haul, but when you think of traffic, sometimes it could be the same length of drive that it takes to get to South Philly. So what's the difference? We're currently representing a number of buyers in the Wayne area. And I literally wrote up an offer on a property down in the Penn Delco School District in Delaware County just yesterday. So we go all over the place. We go where our clients need us and where our clients appreciate our representation. So if you find yourself in the real estate or thinking about the real estate market, maybe you're ready to make a move. Maybe you're ready to purchase your first home. Maybe you're ready to upsize, downsize, or whatever it might be. We're available for you. We offer new buyer counseling. It's not just for new buyers. It brings our buyers up to speed with market conditions. We get to sit down and discuss how real estate may have changed since the last time they bought, what the process looks like. We provide a checklist of everything that they'll encounter along the way, including emergency procedures, because, a lot of times things go sideways in real estate for reasons that are outside of our control. But we've experienced many of them. And so if we can share that information with our clients at the outset as a potential of something that could go sideways, this is what causes it, this is how we deal with it, this is how we recover from it, it makes everybody more knowledgeable. And so if we do encounter a hiccup in real life, it's less of a surprise and more of we've got a procedure for that. So we do that for both buyers and sellers. I think it comes in handy to have that conversation early in the process. One of the things that is really helpful for sellers, or even just homeowners in general, you don't have to be a seller, but occasionally it's nice to sit down with a real estate professional. We offer what we call property reviews. So if you're in the market to sell, you're considering a sale, we'll sit down with you and provide you with a property review, which gives you a sense of what's happening in the market. And it also gives us the opportunity to walk through your home, maybe give you some pointers of things that you might consider doing as you prepare your house for the market. And then when we come away from that, we're able to refine the property review and provide you with a market analysis and a pricing recommendation, including, highlighting those things that you really should do to maximize the value of your home. as you go to sell it. That can be helpful, like I said, for people who aren't even considering a sale this year, next, maybe not even in the next 5 years. A lot of times, especially if you've been in a home for decades, it's nice to think of the things that you can do over the next 5 or more years, so that you can get enjoyment out of the work that you're doing to the house. And then it also sets up the home to maximize the sale value when you do go to put it on the market. So this is a useful thing. We've even sat down with some clients year over year to revise this type of thing. So if that's something that you're interested in, don't hesitate to reach out to us, and we can schedule a time to visit with you and provide you with that property review. And then if you are in the market, we can discuss the best time to sell. There's different ways to evaluate the best time to sell. There's the best time based on traditional real estate cycles, and then there's the best time for you. Just because we tell you that November and December aren't great times to list a house, well, that might be the time for you because of this, or this, and we can work through those items. We can talk to you about the possible downsides, but at the same time, we can structure our approach to still maximize your value and harness whatever energy is going to be in the market at those times, at the times where it makes the most sense for you to sell your house. So it's important to sit down with us early in the process. Don't wait till you're ready to reach out to us. If you're thinking about a move in a month, if you're thinking about a move in 6 months, a year, 2 years, reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. Sure, things will change the further away we are from when you're ultimately going to buy or sell. But it's a good idea to get answers to your questions from a professional who thinks about this every day, rather than, just taking whatever answers you can find on the internet or through the national news media, which might be giving you information that just is not relevant for you in your particular market. So reach out to us. We're here for you. We're happy to sit down and talk about real estate, about the market with you. And we have tools for you. We have a lot of things that we like to provide our buyers and sellers with that will set you up for success. So for buyers, we have this great tool that we can't take full credit for. It's something that we were presented with during a training some years ago. It's Offer Strategies for the Win. It's a one page handout that we use now. I carry a packet of them in my car to all of our showings. It's basically, if you find that house that is the right one for you as a buyer, it breaks down all of the components to an offer so that we can structure the most favorable offer that'll stand out to the sellers, stand out in front of the sellers, and make you shine when maybe some of the other buyers are only thinking about price. There's so much more than just price when it comes to buying and selling a house. There are so many other terms. And so we like to break out those terms so that we can construct the most competitive offer that helps you achieve your goal of home ownership, of buying your first house, second house, whatever it might be. When it comes to working with sellers, not only do we have strategies and procedures to help you maximize, we also have the numbers to back our performance. So we look at our sale to list price ratio on an ongoing basis. We evaluate it as the year goes on, and then we also look back. For the last 5 or more years that we've been looking at it, we've been at a sale to list price ratio of better than 100%, meaning on average, we're selling our listings for more than the asking price. So this year we're at 104% of our list price. That doesn't mean that every house sells over the list price. There are some that are going to sell, right at it, maybe slightly below, maybe a little bit more than slightly below. And there's all kinds of factors that go into what might cause that to happen. So we like to keep that track record going. We are not in the market of overpricing houses, because if you go back in the video, overpriced houses, they don't sell. What we're trying to do is respect the average days on market for any particular sub-market, and price a house appropriately so that it moves in the appropriate amount of time. A lot of times houses that are overpriced, even if they're only slightly overpriced because of the buyer expectations right now, they might look at a house that doesn't sell in 2 weeks and say, "Oh, what's wrong with it?" And anybody who's been in real estate for longer than 5 years knows that that sometimes it takes longer than 2 weeks to sell a house. You could easily be in a normal market where it might take 30, 60, even 90 days to sell a house. And that doesn't mean that the house is overpriced. But in this market, because buyers are looking at houses move so quickly, they'll look at something and be like, "Oh, that's not selling. What's wrong with it?" Rather than viewing it as an opportunity. Because really, at the end of the day, for a buyer in a competitive market where there's bidding wars, they should be looking at the house that doesn't sell in 2 weeks and thinking, "Oh, there's an opportunity for me to come in and possibly not compete and possibly figure out what price that seller will be willing to sell the house to me for." And maybe it gives you more flexibility to do things like inspections and whatnot. But from the standpoint of sellers, our goal, especially in market conditions like these, is we are not interested in overpricing houses. We'll have sellers tell us, "Oh, well, we love what you do, and we want to work with you, but we want to list it for this price." Well, if the price the seller wants to list it for isn't supported by the data, we may just not be able to take that listing. Because that's not the model we work in. That's not how we do real estate. And so the nice thing is there's tons of real estate agents out there. So there's somebody for everybody. There are plenty of people that might take that overpriced listing to put their sign up, and that's fine. For buyers, if you see a house that's sitting because it's overpriced, don't wait for the price reduction. When you wait for that price reduction, what you're doing is you're waiting for the house to be reintroduced to the market. There may be buyers who haven't even seen that house before because the original price is outside of their price range. So when a seller does a price reduction and you wait to call us to see it until after the price reduction, you're basically, we could be walking into a house it'll look fresh on the market for some. And so even a house that has been sitting out there for weeks, even months, after a price reduction may experience another big push in activity, and you may still get multiple offers. So if you as a buyer see a house that's overpriced, reach out to us. Let's go tour it. Maybe we can figure out what that next price reduction is going to be before they do it and get you into a situation where you can avoid competition. So I think I've gone on for long enough. I think when I go back and edit this, I'm going to cut a ton. I might cut the whole thing if I don't like the way it came out. Dinner's looking pretty good here. I may have missed a couple steps. Hopefully not. Hopefully everybody enjoys it when they get home from water polo practice, because I know they're going to be hungry. And this is a favorite dish for them. So I'm going to sign off. Once again, Neil DeFranco, the Larry DeFranco team, Elfont Wisick and Realtors. I work in real estate in the greater Philadelphia area. If you are looking for a real estate agent to help you buy or sell a house, give us a call. Thanks.